What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about one of the more fascinating teams in the NHL this season thus far, the Vancouver Canucks. It's very weird to see Vancouver where they are in the NHL because I don't really think I consider them much of a threat to start the season. You know, obviously a pretty good team, but maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit better than average team. And couldn't have been more wrong to start the year anyway, as they look like one of the more dangerous teams in the NHL. They could not stop scoring. They have some of the highest scoring players in the entire league this year, which again, I didn't see coming. Some of them maybe you could have predicted, like Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, who's taken a massive step this year, as the captain now of the Vancouver Canucks, and he's a big time contributor, but also from guys such as JT Miller and Brock Besser. We're going to talk about all of those guys in depth in just a little bit here, but I'm posing a question here. Are the Vancouver Canucks a real great team in the league that teams should be scared of night in and night out? And it's hard to say. You look at their stats this season, and there's a lot of players that have played out of their minds so far this year, have really stepped up to make this team great, but is it sustainable? I'm not so sure. Early on in the year, till around game 16, they were winning pretty consistently. They only had 4 losses. 2 of those losses coming in overtime, and one of them was to the New York Rangers, who looked like a real, fantastic team this year. So, early on, you got to think, wow, the Canucks are pretty legit. But as time has gone on here, it seems like they've started to cool off a little bit, maybe coming back down to earth, as, they've lost games to the Flames, the Kraken, the Avalanche, who are obviously a pretty good team. But losing 4-3 in regulation to the Sharks hurts, and then not being able to beat the good teams such as Vegas and, how I had mentioned before, the Colorado Avalanche. This losing streak has been making people wonder, are the Canucks legit? And it's making me wonder as well. And looking into their season so far, looking at the teams they've beaten, they haven't really taken on and been able to beat any teams that are really, in maybe cup contender territory, maybe aside from the Dallas Stars if you consider them. But if we look down the list here, they have not been able to beat great teams, I'll say. I think definitely there are some good teams here, but I don't think that they are cup contenders by any means, unless you consider the Dallas Stars this season a cup contender. So I think it is tough to justify saying that Vancouver is, this great team that's unbelievable, that is, taking the league by storm, especially with how the last few games have gone and them playing down to their competition. But if you look at this roster, it is a very talented roster that can easily turn into one of the best teams in the league. They've just added Nikita Zadorov as well, so you can add him to the defensive core. That is definitely still a work in progress. I think they need to add one more big defenseman here to truly be, a really great team. But you can't be mad at what they have at this moment. They have that one true star in Elias Pettersson, who's got 30 points already this season. JT Miller has been playing out of his mind. He's got 36 points. Brock Besser, 17 goals, leads the team, 27 points. Who saw that coming, by the way? Brock Besser was, rumored to be on the move last year, and now he's one of the best goal scorers in the NHL once again. Good for Brock. I've always been a big Brock Besser fan, so I'm really happy to see him thriving. The third line, maybe you'd like to see that be a little bit better. Connor Garland only has 7 points this year, but on the third line, you have to imagine that picks up. He's too good of a player for that to continue. And on the fourth line, you got Nils Höglander, who's still a really young player. He's already got 7 goals, 3 assists this year. So you love it. Sam Lafferty on there too. Maybe not the greatest team on paper. Definitely a team that will need to add maybe a top 6 forward, maybe a middle 6 forward, a couple of those guys to really solidify themselves. But I think that this is a good starting point for the Canucks. And I think that, if they do go out and they add those pieces around the trade deadline, maybe earlier in January or February, they could be a really scary team. I think on defense is where you can kind of see where maybe the lack of consistency comes from, is because this is not a very strong defensive unit. You got Quinn Hughes and Filip Hronek playing together, and they have been lights out. Quinn Hughes has been, arguably the best defenseman in the league this year, not named Cale Makar, and Hronek has just been everything and more that they could have wanted, really justifying that trade that they made to acquire him last season. But the bottom 4 is just not good. Ian Cole and Noah Juulsen shouldn't be in your top 4, right? But that's the situation that they have right now. I assume that, once Zadorov comes in, he likely will enter a top 4 role, so maybe it's Ian Cole and Zadorov. That's a pretty decent, shutdown pairing. I like that a lot. And then maybe you move Juulsen down to the third pairing, or just remove him entirely. I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I'm not familiar with, how Rick Tocchet likes to run his bench, but I do know he likes big defensemen, so I'm expecting Nikita Zadorov to get a lot of ice time, and maybe he is that shutdown guy that the Vancouver Canucks are looking for. It is worth noting that Carson Soucy is also on IR at the moment, so once he comes back, he will likely fit into that bottom pairing on the defense. Now, if you can put a decent defensive core in front of this goaltender, Thatcher Demko, you are cooking, because right now, with the state of everything, Thatcher Demko is 11-6-0 on the year with a .221 goals against average and a .926 save percentage to go along with 2 shutouts. Like, are you kidding me? Thatcher Demko playing at a Vezina caliber level right now in the NHL. Maybe he is the best goaltender at the moment in the NHL. He's playing out of his mind, as we know he can. It's no surprise that Thatcher Demko is good. He's backed up by Casey DeSmith, who is 4-2-1 on the year. Numbers aren't as great, but pretty good backup to have. We talk all the time about Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, Brock Besser, and how good they are and how good they've been this season. We just have not talked about how good that Thatcher Demko is. I have not heard enough about Demko, one of my favorite goaltenders in the league, severely underrated, and I think that it's time the league starts to, kind of notice what's going on, because, look, I think Vancouver's a good team. I don't think that they're great, right, at this very moment. I think they have some roster construction to do, and I think that they can do that no problem. They moved out Anthony Beauvillier and his $4 million to bring in Nikita Zadorov, and I think that was a perfect move. Beauvillier was playing at a pretty replaceable level, and they bring in a defenseman who's likely going to be playing top 4 minutes and probably going to thrive with Vancouver in the style that they play. So I'm excited to see, where Vancouver goes from here. I think they're a piece or two away from being, maybe one of the scarier teams in the league, but definitely do not take the Vancouver Canucks lightly, because they have elite players up and down their lineup, and they can hurt you, and they will hurt you, as we've seen this season. Now, in the Pacific Division, it is pretty tough towards the top. I mean, the Golden Knights and the Kings are going to be probably number 1, number 2 in the Pacific. That leaves the 3rd spot open, I would think, for Vancouver, unless the Edmonton Oilers can catch them. The Oilers have been catching fire lately. They do have games in hand on Vancouver as well. The gap is pretty significant right now. I mean, as of recording this, they are 12 points ahead of the Oilers. Can the Oilers close that gap? I think they can if they keep on winning and the Canucks kind of keep floundering, right? It's been kind of a win one, lose one mentality lately with Vancouver. But if they can string wins together, I don't see a reason why they can't be top 3 in the division this season. We'll see what they do around the trade deadline. I don't have them as, absolute cup contenders or anything like that, but I think with a goaltender that has a Vezina caliber pedigree like Thatcher Demko, when you have X factors such as Pettersson, Hughes, even Besser at times, then hey, you've got a chance all day long. You just need that supporting cast. Maybe you'd add a couple pieces to the middle 6 there in Vancouver, and you've got maybe a little bit of a monster, maybe a little bit of a dark horse come playoff time. But that's just my opinion on the Vancouver Canucks, my thoughts, my analysis. What do you guys think about them? Am I wrong about some stuff? I want to hear about it. I want to hear your take on them. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you are new to the channel, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Channel growth lately has been unbelievable, and I just want to thank all of you so much. If you're new, if you've been watching the videos for a long time, just want to thank everybody. It's been a really fun ride this November. I know we're, in December now, and I hope that this month is just as good as the past one. But with that, guys, I'm gonna hop on out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, this is a Jets channel. If you're a Jets fan, go Jets go, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.